I'm Lesley Tomlinson, and I'm here today to talk to you about doing our MAP test. MAP, acronym for Maximum Aerobic Power. And it's what we base all our workouts and training on. So within the maximum aerobic power, we have all the different systems and different things that we'll be working on, but we need to know what the numbers are that correlate to our efforts as we go through this range. So this is the test that we use so we can determine what those percentages, what those power numbers are going to be as you go through the various systems. So testing, sitting down and testing yourself. Test protocol. Test protocol that we use is a step test. And what a step test means is that we're going to be increasing the output or the effort in a systematic, consistent manner. So there's different protocols out there for doing the test, but we've been using the same protocol, slight differences over the years, and this is what we used at National Team. So we get really good numbers out of this. And that's one of the things, the determination of the protocol is about getting people to a point that they're actually reaching those high numbers. Because if you haven't tested before, one of the really difficult things, for example, is if someone says, sit on your bike and ride as hard as you can for 20 minutes straight, okay, to get those maximal numbers. A lot of people have never done that before. It's a new concept. What is as hard as you can, right? So the same goes for doing the 8-minute FTP test. They can work, they can be great, but there's lots of science and evidence that shows that there's a lot to do with your mental capacity to engage in these tests and to properly go through them, as well as just the effort. So the step test allows you to be given guidance in a systematic, consistent manner as you keep pushing the effort a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. And then ultimately, we want to see what you can do at your maximum aerobic output, okay? And that's the 10 out of 10 that we're looking for. So a few things on this test protocol. It's a step test, as I said, so there's an increase in increments all the way through it, right until you get to failure. It's not failure. It's just where you can't actually manage to turn the pedals over anymore, and that's going to be different for different people. We use 2-minute steps, okay? So that means that every 2 minutes, you're going to be increasing the power throughout the test until we get to the place that we can't go any harder, we can't go any more. The wattage increments are consistent. With most smaller riders and with women, we use a 20-minute increment, a 20-watt increment every 2 minutes. With larger riders and most male athletes, we're using 30 watts every 2 minutes. And both of those give us what we're looking for most people, which is aiming for about a 12 to 16-minute test and getting to your maximal output. Cadence is a constant. So we encourage everyone to ride about a 90-ish cadence. That means fluttering a little bit under, a little bit over is fine, but we're trying to keep around 90, and that's our constant. So every time we increase the wattage, every time we're increasing the effort, you're maintaining that cadence, and very important that that happens all the way through, because part of the cue that we're no longer able to go any higher is that the cadence starts to drop. At a certain point, for everybody, you'll just start to get bogged down, slower, 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 and that's it. So those are the things that we're looking for in the protocol. Also, just importantly, that we start at a proper low aerobic power, and that's where we talk about if we're trying to get 12 to 16 minutes, starting at a proper low aerobic range gives us that proper increment of 6 to even as many as 8 stages, although 8 is a lot for most people. So starting at a proper low aerobic power, we're usually starting smaller riders between 100 and 120, 120 watts is usually our starting point. And then for the male and larger riders, usually we start at 140. We're going up in increments of 30 watts. Some of the riders that are going to be getting to very high levels, we're actually starting 170 and even 200 watts, okay? Because this is the goal, as I said. So these are some of the elements of the test protocol. A couple of things that are really important are staying properly in your low zones. So starting at that low aerobic number and then just kind of going through it. It's going to be talking pace. It's going to be easy. It's going to feel not like a test. And then as you start to build through those first 4, 6, 8 minutes, it suddenly starts to get a lot harder. So one of our riders, and we see him right here, he's riding right now, he's fully aerobic, he's in about stage 2 of his test, and probably even battling to be riding this easily. We see him again later on, where he's almost at the end of his test, and he's really starting to struggle. He's over that hour power. He's getting close to the place where he's not getting enough oxygen in his system to clear out the lactate that's building, and this is what starts to spike you and then get you to your maximum, and then that's it, you're done. So hopefully that helps. We have the numbers. We have the numbers here for you to refer to. The women, as we said, starting 100 or 120 watts. The men and the larger riders starting at 140, 170, sometimes even 200. The protocol being really important. The cadence and the constant being really important. And then what we're able to extrapolate from all that is you now have 100%, which is your maximum aerobic power, your maximum number. And this is not the same as a sprint. A sprint will be higher than that, a pure flat out anaerobic effort. Aerobic, that's the key word, right? So maximal aerobic power, and from that, we can see where your lactate threshold is, we can see where your functional threshold is, we can see where your endurance rates are, and then using those percentages that relate to your numbers that now you've tested for, you're going to be able to do effective workouts and improve your overall capacity. So simple, right? Anyway, we'll see you next time.